Hello, boys and girls. We're continuing on with our reading book, Reading NYCCLS, and we're on inferencing, or to infer. Remember, inferencing is an educated guess. It is a conclusion that you make based on two things, and those two things are details from the story and your prior knowledge. Now remember, I'll talk about this more when we get into nonfiction. We want to assess, which means to look at and think about our prior knowledge. So when we think of subjects that we're very big knowledge on, we're going to make some really good inferences. But let's say we're not very knowledgeable and we have a very weak or small amount of background knowledge on something. Our inferences aren't going to be as good because we don't know as much as that, okay? Doesn't make you bad or anything, doesn't make you dumb or anything like that. You just don't have the background to come up with that inference. And if you remember some of our videos, remember I showed you the cassette deck and the record player and the antimacaster chair, right? You couldn't make inferences based off of those pictures because you didn't experience living in, the time I lived with cassettes and vinyl records. And yes, there were a couple of houses that I had been that had antimacaster on their chairs, which were the little things that had people from having greasy hair because there were older people's houses that I went into. So nowadays you don't have any of that. So again, what you know, it's not how smart you are. It has nothing to do with how smart or how dumb. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It just goes with your background knowledge. So again, I'm coming back to it, right? I'm a huge sports nut, right? I can make so many inferences with football. However, we talk cars, we do stuff, we talk about, anything about making changes to anything like that, like a car change or something. And I'm kind of clueless when it comes to inferencing. So I bet you some of you have probably a bigger background knowledge than this 38-year-old guy, okay? So it has nothing to do with your intellect. It has all to do with your prior knowledge. What do you have knowledge of? Do you have knowledge of the subject or do you not? Okay? And that's going to come in more, boys and girls, when we get back into the nonfiction, where we have to go, okay, what do I know about this topic? Well, I don't know much, so my inferences, I'm going to have a tough time coming up with them. And I'll show you how we do better inferences, still using, our limited background. Okay? So our story is 180, called Thinking Out Loud. And after today, which is day 4, you're going to do also today page 182 and page 183. Now, good news, you're going to use your graphic organizer that you set up the other day for the one story of the penny thief. And we're going to have our inference up here. We're going to have our details and our what we know. And that's going to be set up. So you're literally almost going to pretty much just end up copying your graphic organizers onto page 82 and onto page 83. Obviously, don't just copy them because you want to make them into a nice, neat writing, okay? So that is part of your assignment, to bring those back to me, as well as I'm going to look at your 4 graphic organizers. The one that we did in class, the 2 that you're doing, okay? And then the one will be tomorrow's day 5, which will be very short and sweet. So red group, your day, remember, you're going to do day 5 on actually November 10th. So you're going to do day 4 and day 5 together. So day 5 is really simple, blue group. So if you're really nervous on that, day 5 is going to be kind of easy. So I'm making a nice little, almost like a day off, but it's not really a day off, but a nice review day for us, okay? So let's go to Thinking Out Loud by Ben Carlson. Slipping off the helmet of her spacesuit, Chandra took a deep breath, then another. As she had hoped, fresh air filled her lungs. It was true. This planet, which she and her crew had spied from the mothership, had an atmosphere like Earth's. And because it had air, perhaps the planet resembled Earth in other ways. Was it possible that she, Meek, and Goran had found what humans had long sought? Could there be intelligent life here? So she's making an inference right now. This is a different story because our character right now, Chandra, made an inference. So we're going to do what Chandra came up with. Chandra believes that this planet is like Earth. Whoops, let me do a capital E for Earth. So she made that inference. Right in the beginning, she goes ahead and she makes that inference. This is different than the other story. We had to kind of put the puzzle pieces together. Our character made an inference. Now, how did she do that? She took her details. For us, we know as details. So there was the air to breathe. They're able to take off their masks. So what do we know? Let's go to over what we know. We know that air is called oxygen. And we know that helps plants and humans. I'm going to put CO2, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, and then oxygen for us, for humans. Okay, so we know that we need some sort of gas to be able to live, to breathe, and our plants need the opposite. Our plants need carbon dioxide. So she's realizing that the air to breathe, it's okay for us. Oops, I misspelled that. Sorry, guys. Air to breathe. So there's air to breathe for her. So she's making so far this inference that the planet is like Earth. So far so good for her. For hours, the three astronauts wandered through forests and meadows filled with flowers of every color, shape, and aroma. But they were disappointed. The astronauts saw nothing that looked or acted like the Earth animals, not even the tiniest insect. So let's go ahead. We're going to put details. They see flowers. Like ours on this planet. So since they had flowers that are like ours, they are starting to then think that this planet is like Earth. Okay? So they think because there's flowers there, then there hopefully might be, what do you know about this, that there might be other animals out there? Because if plants can survive on this planet, we know that animals can also survive on this planet. So think of like Mars. Like we know, like legit, we can't see plants living on Mars. Since there's no plants, then there's very slim, probably zero chance that there's any sort of life, like bacteria or anything, living on planet Mars, because there's, we don't see evidence of other things. So they're starting to wonder, okay, there's flowers. That means if there's flowers, there might be other animals here, okay? Finally, they returned to their landing site. Before entering the mothership, they had to collect samples of the plants. Chandra grasped the stem of a particularly lovely flower and placed her knife against it. Suddenly her eyes opened wide in surprise. "Did you hear that?" she asked the other two. "Well, I don't mean here exactly. It was as if the flower spoke to my mind. It seemed to be asking me not to harm it." Meek was about to tease Chandra when his jaw dropped. "I heard it. No, I felt it speak. It wants to know where we come from and why we're here. How should we answer it?" Chandra. "That's obvious," replied Chandra. "We need only to think our answers, and this creature will understand. This planet is full of intelligent life, and it's beautiful too." Okay? So we're going to go two details over here. We're going to go the details that are the flower, the plants. Literally I'm going to put in quote, talk. And this leads me back over here to my ending inference. It goes back over to what I know. So I know right now that plants in this story can talk. So this is why this one's fun. Do we know that plants talk here? No, we do not. So we know that plants can't talk. So now let's go back up to her inference, which is that the planet is like Earth. Can we now say that her inference was incorrect? Yes. So this is key. I had you read this whole entire story. About these characters who made an inference that this planet is like Earth based on these things over here. And then they find out, obviously, some sort of crazy sci-fi planet that they're on where these plants can talk to you. Now, why are we doing this? Why am I slowing it down and showing you? Because inferences can be wrong. Let me repeat. Inferences can, and probably sometimes will be, wrong. Because she didn't have enough background knowledge. So if you think of this, she didn't have enough background knowledge of, obviously, this planet that she currently was living on. We have a very good amount of background knowledge now after reading the full story, but in the beginning, she thought the planet was like Earth. Well, the planet is not like Earth at all. Everything else was, like, there's air to breathe, there's flowers there, so if there's flowers, there might be other sort of species. Like, okay, that's her inference. And we find out that that inference is not accurate. And that's what I want to show to you guys. So if you remember when I did that opening question for you, I had something in my pocket, right? Now, you narrowed down a lot of things when I said there's something in my pocket. You're going to make an educated guess about what was in my pocket. And you went through and you're like, okay, I know it can't be a Ferrari. I know it can't be an iPad. I know that it can't be a bowling ball. Why? Because those things are huge and they wouldn't fit in my pocket. Okay? However, did anyone guess that item right away? No. Why? Because I gave you very minimal background knowledge. So this is what I want you guys to understand. It's okay to make inferences that are wrong, just like our characters. They said the planet is like Earth. Yeah, you go through it, it sounded like Earth, right? You can breathe the air, you got flowers that are beautiful, and then all of a sudden you pick up this wind, it starts talking to you, right? Yeah, her inference was wrong. It's okay to have a wrong inference. To infer is an educated guess. It's the word in it, ready? Guess. It's a guess. It's okay to not have the correct inference, okay? So, whatever your inference is though, we have to back it up with our details too. So obviously, minus this last part here, she was able to make that inference based off of these first two details, right? There's air to breathe and there's flowers like hers. So these are ones that you're gonna support that shows you this, okay? So real quick, the first question in the penny thief is really easy, guys. It says, explain what inferences you made about the parakeet. Include at least 2 pieces of text evidence to support it. We talked about that one. That's so easy. Your inference was, right, that the parakeet was the one who stole the penny, and then give your details to support it. And, what you knew about that. Then you go to thinking out loud. Look at this one. It says, use information from the chart. You don't have to do that chart because we kind of made our own chart on our graphic organizer to describe how the characters use evidence to make their inferences. They made that inference. There's their inference. And then use at least 2 details, boop, 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 to support your answer. So that's how they made their inference. Was their inference wrong? Yes. And that's perfectly okay. Okay? So there's a lot more with inferring still to come because, again, we're only on our first week here. But I hope you guys are understanding. It's a 3-part system here where you got to have facts, you got to have your background knowledge, and then that leads you to believe to come up with an inference. So I thought that this story was different than the penny thief. The penny thief, we had to make the inference. We had to make the inference. Well, the dad kind of gave it away at the end. We said, oh, I have a name for him. I call him the penny thief, right? But if the dad didn't say it at the end, we had to make the inference that the parakeet got out and I don't know if parakeets make that noise, but it stole the pennies and collected them throughout the day, and it was in their cage, right? We made that inference. This was different because the characters made that inference. And sometimes you can be wrong with your inference, okay? Good work, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, day 5. Again, blue group, day 5 like normal. Red group, because of November 11th being Veterans Day, you guys are going to do day 5. Trust me, day 5 is going to be really easy. You're going to do day 5 on your day 4, which is November 10th for you guys, okay? Blue group, ignore what I said. Bye.